talking, it's getting the culture survey stuff ready. I'll kick off with some birthdays. So Seb Dukas, 23rd of the 2nd. Sebby here. How old are you turning, mate? 32.
Dog years is 45.
Sarah, on the 24th of the 2nd. I won't ask you how old you are.
Hey, that's sexist. That's sexist.
And HRT too.
Liam, same on the 24th of the 2nd. So happy birthday to those three people.
Don't need to ask him either.
We've got some anniversaries as well. So we've got Mick Glenn is going to be celebrating 5 years on the 19th. So tomorrow. So well done, Mick. And Jimmy Bell from down south is celebrating 6 years today. So congratulations to Jimmy Bell as well. 3 years. Don't have any DS switching stuff today, so just we're at 502 days without switching incidents, so that's awesome, guys. Again, our last record was 869, so keep up the good work. I've got some DS incidents near misses to go through, just a couple. This one's from Brad. It's more positive recognition than anything else. So just it's a heads up about potholing. The guys have obviously been doing some potholing before they've been carrying out their full excavation, just to locate services and stuff in the trench. So good on them. Yeah, just obviously a huge part in us, finding out what's in the ground before we actually start trying to excavate. Avoids a lot of service strikes and things like that. So well done to the guys down south for their potholing escapades. The second one I've got here is just going back to the heat that we've had in the last sort of week, and I don't think we're going to be out of it yet. So this one was chucked in by Will, so just explaining what happened out on site. So obviously some issues in the morning with some switching led to the crews not getting out to site, that hour and a bit earlier. Quite hot on site by the time the guys got out there. Signs of heat fatigue and things were noticed, so the crews did the right thing. They moved people around, got people in the shade, watched over each other, which is what we want and expect, so that's great. Again, just big highlight on, look after each other when you're out there, take the breaks, have your drinks, reassess each other when you get back to the depot as well, because heat exhaustion doesn't always, appear straight away when you're out there. It can be signs of it later on in the day, headaches, that sort of stuff. So this one's just a highlight from Will. So good pick up, Will, and good pick up by the guys out there managing that, looking after each other. All right, so well done. That's the two I had. Just jump through some alerts. So I've got safety alert 1406. So this is a steel cable drum slipped off the truck. So Brownie has this one.
So on Sunday north of Fair, at approximately 10:30 a.m, a GSW from Ancillary Services was moving a cable drum from the cable winch to a flatbed. And when he was reversing, he pulled up to rearrange the load, and the cable drum slipped off the tray because it wasn't strapped down.
Yep.
So there was no injury to employees, no damage. It was minor damage to the cable drum. And then in the key points, it just references the load restraint guide. That's it, really.
Pass that one around. We do a lot of that sort of stuff. Just good idea, safety when we're lifting that sort of stuff. And then I've got another one here from Matt. This is a work practice bulletin. So there you guys, just some low voltage switching stuff for below ground level junction pits. Notice that it's only to do switching with accreditation for CBD networks. Typically our work involves opening and closing street circuits to de-energise the pits. Connections of services where the connection point can be raised out of the ground and not classified as switching and are subject to the low voltage manual, where it states that work on energised LV below ground must be performed where stipulated in SA Power Network approved directives, procedures, work practices, manuals and guidelines, and subject to a risk assessment on site. It's also got here to reference the section 9.3 of the low voltage switching manual for working junction pits, previously known as JSWP 582. Changes It's just they've changed the manual to stipulate that it's just that you can work in as a CBD distribution network. That's the training you need to be able to work live every day. Thanks, Matt. Just general depot stuff. Just before we get into this culture survey stuff, we'll just Michelle's just setting up some site pass stuff. So I think she's sending out emails to everybody now who isn't registered and set up properly. So just keep an eye out for that. We'll go through it again right at the end just to make sure everyone's signed on and that's all sorted. There is a new energy quality directive for 2025. I'm not going to go through reading all of it. What we've done is we put it up in the kitchen area and we put it up out the back and put it in a few places around the depot. So just when you get some time, take the time to read through it. Alright, we've stuck a few copies in the common area where the computers are set up. So we'll get around that, have a read. I'm going to hand over to Cam. This one is for the Enervan Culture Survey.
Thanks, Josh. Yeah, so I listed down here today to give us a bit of a presentation from HR around top survey, which I'm all in with small yesterday afternoon. Yeah, so timing is good for that. So we did have a slideshow to go through. That's not working for us today, so we're just going to wing it. And,
it's all good.
Yeah.
No worries. Well, thanks for having me this morning.
Sorry, come around here, guys. Yes,
Well done. So the corporate engagement survey launched yesterday. So the reason why we do things like this, so these big sort of corporate initiatives, is that so it's not possible that we can get out and speak to everybody. It's also not plausible that everybody is going to want to speak to us. Like I think I'm quite a likable person, but I'm very aware that nobody likes HR, and I'm not sure why this is the career that I chose, but that's okay. Here I am 20 years later. But what I really believe is that, in my role in HR, we can actually do some really good work. So it's not that I can come out and speak to all 653 people that we have employed at Enervan, but we can do these big initiatives that we can collect comments and data sort of on masses. And what that means is that we do get to hear from you guys on the ground, I should say, on the ground and also in the office as well. So the survey, sorry, I just got myself a little bit. So the whole reason for the survey is to hear from everybody. It is confidential and it's all about measuring your engagement with Enervan. So obviously when we've got engaged employees, what we see in engaged employees is all the positive, good corporate citizen sort of behaviours that we would expect from our employees. It's where we got people that are disengaged. We see things like high personal leave. We see things like taking riskier actions at work. We see things like presenteeism, where you're sort of at work but not really doing what you want to be doing. So when you're engaged, you're living and breathing for the organisation's mission. You are really wanting to come, give your all sort of to Enervan, take home your paycheck at the end of the week or fortnight, and sort of do the best that you can while you're here. So it's not that we're reaching for 100% engagement, as much as that would be amazing. That's also not realistic. But it is just trying to make sure that our people are happy, and if they're not, identifying where those unhappy spots are and making sure that we take action. And that action is mostly through your leaders and making sure that they know what is happening on site and how their people are feeling. But also it's through yourselves as well. So when we present the data, when we're looking at the culture survey results, it's understanding the cohorts of employees that are happier, that are not so engaged, and then the people that are not so engaged, we can work on them a bit more targeted, or we can sort of look at the people that are engaged. There's so many things that we can do with that information. Now, let's see if this moves. So your participation is important. So the more people that we have participating in the survey, the more people that, the more information that we have effectively. I'll talk a bit about, I'll go back. From the last survey, there are a few things that we noticed and we put in some changes for this survey. So from the last survey, which was a poll survey, so we had really good engagement in the survey before then they did a pulse survey last year and the participation rate was down, especially from within the field. So that's why I'm here today, to sort of answer any questions, talk to you about confidentiality, talk to you about the importance of the culture survey, and just make sure that you know that it's out and about. You can do it on your phone. It looks really nice on the phone, so it's easy to use, easy to do. There were concerns around confidentiality. So there was a bit of a blunder last time. I'm not sure if it was a blunder intentional, I'm not really sure, where all the comments were sent out. So I'm not sure if those that were here when that happened. That is not the intention this time around, and I'll talk to that in a little bit in a second. So there was a lot of conversation around how confidential this is. There was no communication around the comments being sent out. It's not an uncommon practice that comments are shared through the survey, but normally there would be comms to say the comments will be shared with your leader. It's not identified. It didn't say Alicia said this, but if I said I work in HR and I'll use Chris as an example. Chris is a pain in the ass to deal with. Then I'm identifying myself and identifying Carissa, which is not at all what the intention is. There was also feedback that this is a SAPN managed survey. It's not an NVN managed survey. There was a lot of confusion around the language. So this is our first NVN owned survey. So we're doing this all ourselves. Even though it does say SAPN and NVN in the email, we couldn't change that because the platform itself is owned by SAPN. So we couldn't do anything about that, but it is our survey. We have designed the questions to suit us. The language in the questions is designed by us. So if there's any issues with the survey, that's wholly on us. So come back and have a conversation with us, and we're more than happy to take on any feedback. Bless you. So I will talk a bit about confidentiality. So I know with surveys there's always conversation around how confidential it is. I've worked in HR for a really long time. I've worked in lots of different organisations, and I've done surveys through different platforms. Now the reason why I love Culture Amp is, and that's the platform that we use, bless you, is that we don't own the data. So we in no way can, we upload your demographics into the system, so that's the data that we own on you. So through our systems, we can export it as a spreadsheet, we upload that into the system. But when you respond with that unique link in your email, that data is owned by Culture Amp. So they are a reputable survey platform. They have their own confidentiality principles that they are bound by, and then the information that we see is data that's grouped together. Now we can set up the survey different ways. The way that we've chosen to set up the survey this time around for an organisation our size is to have data that is grouped in groups of 5. So, for example, in this room, I'm really bad at guessing numbers, never won the competition of guessing how many jelly beans are in the jar, but let's say there's 50 people here, and I can see 2 women so far. We'll count Michelle, that's 3. So yeah, if I were to want to look at gender statistics within this group, I wouldn't be able to see what the women said. I'd be able to see what the men said. Where I wouldn't be able to see what the women said is if there was, where I wouldn't be able to see what the men said is if there was only 1 woman in the group. So if there's 1 woman, 49 guys, I wouldn't be able to see either of those scores, because then that is a bit identifying in terms of what the woman responded with. So that's how those stats work. And then with comments, what we've done is we need to have 15 people within a group for a leader to be able to see the comments. So in this group, there's definitely more than 15 people. So then the comments will be shown, or will be available to the leader. What also happens is the comments are grouped into themes, and that can be presented a bit more widely. So the comments itself aren't released to everybody, but the themes. So there are, say you guys are really happy with workload and remuneration, and I'm just pulling some stuff out the hat. Work-life balance, they will kind of show up in green, and then when there's issues with, I'm just going to say the same things, work-life balance, REM, and hours, they will show up in red. So that's a bit more of a grouped approach to how we present the comments. So is there any questions? I know I'm just racing through this really quickly, but is there any questions on the confidentiality of the survey? If anyone has any concerns, I know there's always concerns. I had my manager once sitting there like going, well, I can see this and I can see this, so that means this, and that's just educated guesses.
have seen some confused faces when you talked about the 49 and the 1 and then not being able to see the data. So what that does, it rolls up to the next manager
Yes.
up until there is enough people that, you know, that
Correct.
above 5 each. So it
Yeah.
doesn't just go nowhere and it's not used.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So it does just roll up, but there's other ways that we can report on things. So, so where did I lose my train of so why you've got a unique link in your email? So that's a comment that we get a lot. Like if it's not identified, why do I have to use the link in my email? Because what's really important with that is that we do have all the demographics in the background. So that way, when we're looking at the results, it doesn't say Gary said X, but let's say Gary's a man who's in the 45 to 55 age bracket. He's been at Enervin for 10 years. He is a permanent employee. We can slice and dice that data, so long as there's a group of 5 in that area, to look at, well, what are all the men in that age group? How happy are they? And an example of that is I worked at a council, and what we found was when we're looking at the demographic of people in the outside field, that the young guys were super happy. They were like bright green. They were like, yes, I got a job with council, job for life, this is awesome, loving life. We've got the older guys, and they were happy as well. They're like, I've done my dash, I'm about to retire, I'm living large, my house is paid off, life is good. Whereas the guys in the middle, they're the ones that were really unhappy. So they were the ones that were going, I've got 20 more years of riding freaking lawnmower. Like, you know, what does this look like for my life? So yeah, we did a lot of work with those guys in that space to sort of look at what their opportunities might be. You know, are they happy? You know, sort of, or do we need to look at opportunities for them, either internal, like training? Is it looking at like rotating them through different teams so they get some exposure? We did a lot of work to try to motivate them, to try to engage them, so that we don't start seeing those bad behaviours in those long-term employees, because they are really hard to manage. They are hard to manage from a manager's point of view. They make my job really crap. And also, when we've got long-term employees, we want to make sure that they're happy here. We want to make sure that we are engaging them and they do enjoy their time here, rather than it sort of goes on that slippery slope the other way. So that's where that demographic data is really important, and it brings a richness to the survey itself and the work that we can do in that space.
Alicia, people that don't choose not to do the survey,
Yeah.
you still get targeted by getting an email from
You do.
management to say, please
No,
do
you
that.
don't.
Well,
you
from
never get it.
from whoever it is, so
Yes, from the
so
platform
people still
itself.
know that you're
Yeah.
choosing not to do the survey.
So I don't know. So the only way, so no one has access to that information at SA Power Networks or Enervin. No, that is system generated. So that is, so with the demographic data, with the unique link that you get in your email, the system picks that up. The system picks up who's done it, who hasn't done it. We don't get a report on it. We don't know who's done it, hasn't done it. We do not have access to that information, and Culture Amp will not give it to us. So that is a
Because
system
I've got an
generated.
email previously that it's only had a few names on there and it's come from my boss. So
From Enervin
correct.
about the survey.
Yeah.
When we've used Culture Amp,
Oh, previously.
how many years ago?
I don't know, but I'm just raising it.
No, so that the manager could have guessed. I have no idea, but the manager would not have access to that information. So I don't know if maybe, you know, and sometimes people talk, they say things, and then the manager sends an email. It's in no way do the managers get a report that these people have not done it, these people have done it, away you go. That is purely system generated, and I say that hand on heart. Like, I've got a lot of integrity. I've worked in teams where, I've worked in companies where managers have had access to that information, and I've seen it's awful. Like, they just can't help themselves, but drill into it, and it's just not a healthy way to use the data. We do not have access to it, so take that temptation away. Like Mel said at the culture survey, she was like, at the leaders forum, if you've got access, you just can't help yourself. So we just don't have access to it. There's no ability for us to get access to it. It's just not possible.
So you don't know who we are, but you may know what we are, how do you work that out?
So exactly right. So that's in that demographic data. So that's why you've got the unique link in your email. So then you click on that, and that's where it's got all the demographic data in the back end. So we pull that from a payroll report, and it's got all your age, your gender, your location, how long. Well, no, that the email is there so the platform can send you the email, right? So in no way do we see that information. We can't see it. We cannot see individual responses. What we can see is that, I'm going to guess, let's say you're in the 25 to 35 group. So long as there's 5 people, so long as there's 5 people in this group that are 25 to 35, we can see that group of responses and see how happy that group of people are. So that's that story that I just said. That's how we can tell who is kind of happy in the teams, who's not happy in the teams, the girls versus the guys. That's also a really critical one, especially in teams like this where there's so few girls. Like, how do we make sure that we're creating environments that they feel safe and engaged in their work as well? Look, at the end of the day, even if it was identified, right, which it's not, even if it was identified, the fact that, you know, your responses should be that you trust the organisation to do what's right with the information, and if you don't, then that's a sign in itself. So, at the end, this is just a tool that we can use. It's an online platform that we gather information. It's gathered into groups so that we can look at it. And I'm really happy once the survey is close to come out and do a presentation. I can show you exactly what I see. I've got one of the highest levels of access at Enervin. The systems team at SA Power Networks have a different level of access, but still they cannot see individual responses. No one has, Andrew Bills doesn't have it, no one has it. It's just how the system is able to send you an email with a unique link so that we are then able to gather that data around the demographics. Does that make sense? Yeah? Look, I feel like I'm pretty trustworthy and I really see the value in surveys because, like I said, I can't get around and speak to everybody one-on-one, like I wish I could. We're just getting too big for that. But it's how do we get that information and do those larger scale projects to make sure that we are targeting the right people in the projects that we're doing. Or else we're just wasting our time and flopping around, which you might think we are in sense, but that's okay. It's okay. I know. Were there any other questions? Well, the survey's out, the link's in your emails. Any questions, just reach out. My name's Alicia. I'm still pretty new here at Enervin. I'm about 6-7 months in. So, but really happy with what I've seen so far. But any questions, just reach out. Happy to go through the information again. But also really happy to come and present the results at the end, and I can show you exactly what I can see and what that means for